Hello, everyone. It's Michael Jaco with Unleashing Intuition Secrets. A lot of people have asked me about remote viewing. There's a lot of groups out there that do remote viewing. They don't know the target. There's different reasons for that. If you're working with a group of people, a lot of times it's better if they don't get their analytical mind involved in it, so that it may, make them see something that otherwise they wouldn't see or would see or whatever. So, for me, I learned how to know my target beforehand, and then I go in and I look at it. I look at it as a remote viewer with my consciousness in a vibratory field, alpha brainwave pattern, and theta, and so forth. So I've learned how to take my consciousness to that level. Now, in some groups, like I said, they don't. They just give coordinates. The person that puts it together knows the coordinates, and then a remote viewer will pick up on that energy. So it's almost like the same thing to me anyway. But there are, obviously control factors, especially when you're working with controllers and a lot of people that learn how to remote view that way worked with people that were controlling information. Right. So I'm not like that. I don't control the information. I share it. Now, some of these people are exceptional remote viewers in that field, and they do really well. If you're working with a group of people, like when I do group meditations, I don't tell them ahead of time what we're going to focus on, because people will start to, think about, the target and what they're going to see, and that can, for the average person, it can, sway them to, see something that is not going to be there because they use their analytical mind, what they've been told about the target or whatever. Now, when you go into the meditative state, there's less chance that will happen because you're in that higher consciousness state. So you're just looking at something with your higher consciousness, and you're being guided. So I guide everyone to look and so forth. So it's easier sometimes like that. I've trained myself so much in this that it's easier for me to know what I want to go look at, and I go look at it. Right. So I'm pretty, as you guys can see, I'm almost always super relaxed. Right. So it's easier for me to slip into ultra relaxed state of consciousness and go look at something. So some people have asked that. Of course, I have the remote viewing courses. You go to my website and look for the courses, or you go to unleashingintuition.com, I believe it is, and pick up the course there. But the links are in the description box. So I've had thousands and thousands of people that have done my remote viewing course, and they have exceptionally good results in it. So my system is just another one of many systems out there. You can choose for yourself. Obviously, some people pay ridiculous amounts of money, I believe, to learn remote viewing. It's not that big of a deal. All right, you just learn how to go into meditative state. Some of you already do it; you don't realize it. And if you get somebody like me that's done it and is exceptionally good at it, then you do a course that's less than $200, and you're a remote viewer pretty much. So I do guided remote views with groups. I haven't done it in a while, but I'll probably start to pick that up again. So, and I'll have it open to the general public here pretty soon. So I'll just put out that I'm going to do a remote view. I put out a link that everybody can come and join. It'll be fun. Anyone in the world. So I see someone's from the Netherlands, right? So there's beautiful. Thank you. Welcome, everyone all over the world. And so today I have a lot of things that I'm going to cover. It's going to be a pretty long show. It will, because I had plenty of time to put it together and have a lot of things on my mind that I want to share. And of course, we're still looking at a lot of people ask me about, because I do hurricanes and so forth. And I predicted hurricanes exceptionally well. Just one was off last year, where I said Miami was going to get hit. It did not get hit. I think this could be the year that it gets hit, and it could be a pretty devastating one. I don't think there's going to be as many earthquakes this year, even though it's supposed to be another active season. And an active season is where the water is warm. Right now, it's not as warm as it was last year, but that obviously can change. And the warmer the water, the bigger the hurricanes. If the Pacific has cooler water and the Atlantic has warmer water, those are environments that create a lot of hurricanes. So they're looking at a very active season. So in the scientific realm, they've already said it's going to come. Now, I said earlier that it was going to be a lot of hurricanes this year. Now, I think this is going to be one of the last seasons where we're going to have a lot of hurricanes. I think because we're really going to start to go deeper into the colder, the geomagnetic, where it gets less sunspot activity. And we're going into a global cooling phase that's going to get pretty cold on Earth. That next year, this next season, cold season, is going to be even colder, and the water is not going to be conducive for hurricanes. So I think we're seeing some of the last hurricanes we're going to see on a large scale. But I do think we're going to have several, at least 3, that are going to be pretty significant. I think, like I said, one is going to hit lower Florida, Miami area. Another one will hit Texas, I believe, and another one will hit the west coast, northern west coast of Florida. And there'll probably be some smaller ones that are going to sprinkle here and there. I think there's another one's going to probably go up the East Coast somewhere, maybe hit up around Georgia, South Carolina. So those are just right now, like within a month of those now. And the one that I feel that's going to hit Miami, I think it's late July is when it hits. There's one season where I predicted Hurricane Michael. I said it would be the biggest hurricane ever to hit Florida. It was the actual biggest. At the time, it wasn't. It was the biggest to hit the area of Florida that it hit. It wasn't the biggest ever. But it ended up being a Hurricane 5. Now, they said at one time it was a Hurricane 4, but then they upgraded like a month later, said, oh, yeah, it was a Hurricane 5. So I was right. And it was Hurricane Michael. And I predicted this hurricane hitting in the exact area where it hit Panama City, around that area. So sometimes I get them like super accurate. Sometimes they're not so much. This last season, I feel like I was pretty much 90%. I don't know. Things can change. Very, very, sketchy. All the stuff that's going on right now. It's very chaotic, and it's very wearying. I know a lot of you guys are probably intuitive, and I heard from a lot of friends today, myself included. I feel very like a lot of pressure, a lot of weariness. It's just heavy. Very heavy feeling. It doesn't mean that anything's definitively coming. It just could be just energy. But that's just kind of the way you are, whether you're intuitive or not. You feel these things, right? So as far as like cold, I said it would be not for all of the states. Of course, it's ridiculous to think that Florida would still be super cold and still be in winter all the way through spring. But I did say there would be areas in the United States this year, and I said it last summer, in fact, that there would be a long winter, and the winter would go all the way to summer for some areas. And sure enough, we're moving in that direction for pretty large area of the United States. So we'll see, what happens going forward. I think there's going to be very significant earth changes for several years going forward. And we'll see tsunamis. We'll see massive earthquake activity. We'll see massive, volcanic activity. So you always have these when you have a grand solar minimum. It's just the way it is. In a 12,000 year cycle, which we're in now, you can have very significant ones, and I think we're moving into that period. So it'll be interesting, how this plays out. Personally, I'm moving to high ground, right? I'm moving into the mountains. So if you're down low, it's you got to trust your intuition. Now, some of you are like, well, I can't move, and it's like, well, then you can't move. It's pray to God, and hopefully it works out for you. You never know. All right, so let's jump into this. Baba Vanga, she was basically a visionary. Where was she from? I think was she Romanian or something. But she had visions. A lot of her visions came through. She had a vision that in June 2025, there would be a vanishing power and a whispering sky. So now everyone's going to have interpretations, and people do have interpretations for, a lot of these mystics. There were mystics from Roman times that wrote down, like they had books of stuff that they saw in the future coming. Of course, the people that were in power had those books and kept them for themselves, and a lot of those visions came true, and they knew they were coming, but they held them for themselves. That's the way they do. I think there's a lot of people that know what's coming, and they trick us. I hate that, right? And that's why there's guys like me throughout time that get the calling, go share. I'm like, why? I've always been a secret guy. So how am I going to get out there and share? Well, they'll trust you because you got a good background. I was like, okay, we'll see. So it is something I think that's going to be, like I said, coming as far as like the sun's activity. We're already starting to see that. The sun is powering us up as its electromagnetic energy hits us. It creates a force within the earth, and it responds with earthquakes, volcanic activity, and of course, those earthquakes and volcanic activity can trigger tsunamis. So that's what we're into. Yeah, Maryland, we're in a strong geomagnetic storm, according to Stephen Burns. Yeah, and I'll bring that up. Stephen Burns is really kind of one of those guys who just popped into the scene, and his information has been, I think, next level. So you get people like that, oh, Robert, how come someone hasn't like gotten rid of you? So ban that idiot. So full of shit. Yeah. So you're so bye-bye. So it's gonna be, you're gonna have people like that come in, and you people with the wrenches, take care of that, please. But you're gonna have like I just had CA, drop a little thing in my mailbox. So they occasionally, touch base with me and fuck with me. So, but that's to be expected. We're going to have that. There's going to be people that, share the information like I'm talking about. And that's going to be, I might have banned the wrong people. So I try to get in there and knock some people out, and knock that guy out. I think I got some other people because the thing goes really quick. So let me unban some people. Hopefully I can do that. Anyway, maybe I can't do it here. All right. So we'll get a little deeper into some of this stuff. So Baba Vanga, the sunspot activity and so forth, I think is what's going to be, really hammering things right now. So let's look at it, and I'll get back and unblock you people, unfortunately. So please, you guys that have the wrenches, take care of that. So if I have to jump over there and do it, I'm going to probably knock a couple of people off that don't need to be knocked out. All right. So, because the thing is moving so fast. All right. So I'm going to present a little screen share, and we'll look at Stephen Burns.
One right there. Well, we have this first one further over, now past the geoeffective position, and this coronal hole here entered into the geoeffective position. One of the reasons why it affects us so strongly is you notice that's trans-equatorial. It's cutting through the ecliptic plane of the sun and the earth, meaning that high-speed stream that's emitting is slowing exactly along that ecliptic plane, and it's also stretching well to the north and south. So definitely was not going to miss us. Whereas something that's, let's say, really centered in the southern hemisphere or northern hemisphere can maybe miss the ecliptic plane, this definitely was not. But we look at the real-time solar wind and we see that both high-speed streams hit us. So let's give it a look. Here we have our real-time solar wind data as provided by NOAA, and this is set for the past 7 days. And we see a whole bunch of different data points on our solar wind as measured at the L1 Lagrange point, 1% of the distance from the Earth to the Sun. So we have about a 1 hour heads up with what we observe here and then what impacts the Earth. Here we have our KP index, a 3-hour measure of geomagnetic volatility. So these swings in Earth's magnetic field strength, the bigger the swings, the stronger the KP index peak. And then we see our temperature here of the solar wind, our speed or velocity, our density. This is measured in particles per cubic centimeter. Then we have our phi angle and then our interplanetary magnetic field. The black line is the total field strength measured in nanotesla. And the red line is the southward component. So it's the south-north vector direction of that magnetic field. We're measuring that force in that vector direction. When it goes sharply negative, that connects really nicely to Earth's magnetic field, which has a positive orientation in that Z component. And so we see that our solar wind conditions basically were flat and normal. You notice our geomagnetic volatility wasn't really there. Things were nice and quiet. And then you'll notice that we had our velocity go up. And actually, our values here are about 600 kilometers per second. So that's the first high-speed stream impact from that very...
All right. So what we've been seeing is stronger earthquake activity, probably volcanoes about ready to like super explode all over the world. Super volcano in Naples, Italy, getting ready to explode. Now, this energy that's coming in from the sun blast could be the thing that triggers it, if it's enough. And usually when we get this solar activity, within a day or two, we'll start to see some of this activity happen. So we know we have the Cascadia zone that is subduction zone, which is under pressure, massive pressure. And we'll talk about that as well. 11,000, small earthquakes that are happening underground, not on the surface, but underground, where it's basically slipping. It's slipping, and it's gathering pressure over 11,000 in the last, month. So the month's not over yet. So it is it's increasing the pressure. There's a volcano that's off. It's building like it's getting ready to blow, and magma, pushes up volcanoes and they start to form. That seems to be happening within that Cascadia fault zone. So subduction zone. So there's going to be very possibly, that thing cook off. Will that be the thing that, causes the tsunami? It's a possibility. It could happen, and there isn't a tsunami. There was a fairly significant earthquake off the Oregon coast not too long ago, and it didn't cause a ripple. If it did, they were very minor. So, will we get the big one? It is definitely a possibility, and I believe that it's coming. Is it coming soon? It remains to be seen, but it is coming. It always happens. We're in the same time frame. So that doesn't mean that it definitely will, but it does mean that we're within a window. It's like when I was in combat zones. You're in a window for being attacked. Will it happen? Maybe. If you prepare, if you're in a position where you can protect yourself and or maybe take them out before they take you out, which was what I liked, right? Drone strike those guys before they could get their guys to find us. It worked out really good. So are we going to see this activity be stunted because of possible mind activity from us? That's always been a possibility. That's why people bring this to everyone's attention, because our minds, our thought ability can make a difference. We've done this before, and we've done this recently. 2012 was supposed to be a major event for the world, and we jump timelines. So there is a possibility that this can happen, and we can work together and possibly prevent it from happening.
Coronal hole in advance of that really big star-like coronal hole on the sun, and we see that the density dropped. So you have the co-rotating interaction region at the front of it, which is that region of more dense plasma, though this one wasn't that significant for the past 2 weeks due to the solar orbiter probe being 180 degrees opposite the Earth. So that was fortuitous. And it didn't really change much.
So those corona holes that are in the sun that keep rotating around, those are causing geomagnetic storms to hit us. And that has been upping the geomagnetic energy within the Earth, which, like I said, causes this earthquake activity and so forth. So now we have a possible sunspot activity that could be hitting us as well.
Side, just in the past 48 hours, it has significantly changed. You'll notice that it's starting to spread apart and form a lot more sunspots. So before it was kind of just one or two big cores. Now it's fracturing. We see that really nicely with our current intensitygram, and a little bit of growth over here too. But just in general, it's becoming more dynamic. We still haven't had too many solar flares from it, but that could change very quickly. We see 4099 here as well. Similar, though 4100 is definitely bigger, but that underwent a lot of growth and changes over the past 4 days or so. Both of them are soon going to be at this Earth center direct zone. If they decide to flare, one or both of them, both would be pretty wild. But if they decide to flare from around this zone here, then...
Okay, so this is one of the things that I get. These can be manipulated. The sun and the sunspot activity and the coronal mass ejections can be manipulated from the Earth. And it goes both ways. It goes both ways as far as consciousness can have a positive effect, because they did a mass meditation where they had 1 million kids that, did a meditation, and they saw the sun do something beautiful. And of course, we have the bad guys basically have their high-tech equipment where I believe they can neutrino the sun and cause it to flare and do an ejection. So this is a possibility when we see something like this come around. Now we're starting to see this. We couldn't see this in the past. It wasn't available. This information wasn't available to us. So we just get these earthquakes, and we're like, oh God, there was an earthquake. We had no warning. But now we're getting people that are watching, the earthquakes around the Ring of Fire and how they move around fault zones. If they're a deep, significant earthquake, they usually end up being an even more significant earthquake on the surface somewhere. So we're seeing this plot out. Of course, the experts are saying that is nonsense. That is not nonsense. We've seen the patterns, and they have worked out that way. Does it always work out that way? Not necessarily. For me, I have, predicted some of these earthquakes. I said they were coming, and they came. So a lot of people would say that's impossible for you to predict that earthquakes are coming just by your thoughts. You can pick that up. No, it's energy. So everything we are frequency and energy. So if you fine tune yourself, you can pick up on energy, right? You can pick up on negative thoughts. You ever walk into a room and you're like, oh, something's wrong here. And you stop and you look, and there's somebody giving you the evil eye right across the room. Everybody's experienced that. So, or most people have. Some people are like, I've never experienced that, because you're not picking up on energy. you're just in la la land. You're just floating around through life, and you just get bumped where you get bumped like a little balloon, so go over there. So some people are like that. We know who they are. But most of us pick up on energy. We're not completely aware of it. It's not like, somebody slaps us upside the face, but we can feel when people are sending us negative thoughts, hexes or whatever. And then when people are sending us love, we can pick up on that as well. So it is, the snake eye. Yeah. A lot of people have experienced it. All right. So, Stefan, I'm sure it sounds like a lot of you guys are following him. That's really good. And, keep it up. So when I was a hard hat diver before I went to SEAL training, actually just before I went to SEAL training, I was in Portland, Oregon, with my dive ship, and we're at the Portland Rose Festival. We're doing tours on our ship, and it's fun. It was beautiful. It's back when Portland was the most beautiful city in America. That was a long time ago. It's filthy now with bums and Antifa and all kind of BLM and all kind of bad things now. The Democrats let that beautiful city go to shit. But scientists are giving last warning as Mount St. Helens eruption triggers. So I was there in 1980. In 1981 is when I went through, or 1980. No, it was 1981. So in 1980 I was there, and then in 1980, was it 1981? Yeah, I had to have been. So maybe I was there in 1981. I don't know. It was like the summer. Yeah, it had to have been the summer of 1981. But there were still, because the Mount St. Helens erupted in 1980, and then they weren't sure if we would be able to go up the river to Portland because there was a lot of ash that had fallen from the volcano. And then when we were there, the volcano spewed out a bunch of ash. I remember I was in a nightclub with a bunch of my buddies, and we came out, and all the cars were covered with ash. I remember I got like a little baby jar, and I put ash in it. I had that for like years and years and years. I don't know what happened to it. One of my moves, it disappeared, but it was kind of cool. So the Portland, we had to stay there for another few years. I wish for years, but a few more days because of the ash. They had to make sure that the river was clear enough from our dive ship to go back out to sea. So I've seen this firsthand. I've seen volcanic activity like that. I've walked through Oregon where there's like magma for like 100 miles. It's crazy. Just a little trail, in the Pacific Crest Trail that was like knocked out through the magma. Pretty crazy. So it is something I think is coming again. I think the Cascadia Range, all of it's going to be triggered. And let's listen to this video where they present, what happened when Mount St. Helens, blew. It was a learning curve for scientists because they always downgrade this stuff, and they just got handed like this crazy event that just blew everybody away. They didn't think things could be so violent. I don't know why, because there's plenty of evidence for it out there that it's happened before in the past. But they try and change science on us because they want to dumb us down so we don't understand. And it's like, oh, there's no catastrophic events that's ever happened in the world. It's just nice and slow, and things evolve very nice and slow. Darwinism, selection of the species, slow, very slow. There's no violence. It's just all slow. It's bullshit. They used to, before Darwinism came in, natural selection of species, it was, they believed in catastrophism, and then they changed that. These evil people changed it.
A lineup of volcanoes that includes Mount Rainier, Mount Hood, and Mount Adams. However, Mount St. Helens stands out, not just for its striking cone shape, but for the violent eruptions that lie in its past. The world was forever changed on May 18, 1980. Mount St. Helens had been showing signs of activity for months: earthquakes, steam eruptions, and bulging of the north side. Yet no one could have predicted the sheer scale of destruction that was about to unfold. At 8:32 a.m., a magnitude 5.1 earthquake struck, triggering the largest landslide ever recorded.
And a 5.1, that's like a nothing burger in California. I think 5.1s all the time. In some places, obviously, it makes a big difference, depending on the geology. So there, it was a massive 5.1. And during that time frame, even though they had the Alaska earthquake, which some like 9 something, big earthquakes were kind of rare. They're not so rare anymore.
The entire north face of the volcano collapsed in a massive rock slide that roared down the mountain at speeds of up to 150 miles per hour. What followed was nothing short of apocalyptic. A lateral blast, a superheated cloud of gas, rock, and ash shot out of the side of the mountain at supersonic speeds, flattening everything in its path. Over 230 square miles of forest were obliterated in seconds, glaciers melted, and a massive ash plume rose 15 miles into the atmosphere. Ash fell across 11 states and even reached parts of Canada. The once majestic peak of Mount St. Helens lost over 1,300 feet in height, leaving behind a gaping crater. This eruption wasn't just another volcanic event. It was a turning point in our understanding of volcanic power. Scientists around the world were stunned by the scale and ferocity of the explosion.
So stunned by the scale and ferocity of the explosion. They're going to get stunned again pretty soon, I believe. But that remains to be seen. It is, I think, evolving. It's going to be very catastrophic for a lot of areas when some of these volcanoes go off. It happens during these time frames. The electrical energy that changes the position of the points on the globe. All right, that we've seen in the past where we've had the poles shift, and the poles have been shifting erratically over the last couple decades, and they're getting more and more erratic. So it'll be interesting to see that. And there's also has been a change in the movement of like weather systems and so forth. They're being affected as well. So it's changes are coming, and radical changes, not just in consciousness, but also in the earth itself. So it's something that, like I said, happens, and it's going to happen. It is happening actually now. It's upon us. All right, another one that we're going to look at is, like I said, there's going to be lots of cold for a lot of people. So you see here why June might be historically cold. The summer that never came. We'll have summer. Everybody's going to have summer this year. Next year, not as much, and the year after that, not as much again. But and it's going to continually go lower and lower for probably the next decade before it starts to slowly turn back around again, or maybe even longer, unfortunately. So we'll see. Hopefully, it doesn't go much lower, but it's on the path of going down, and this is part of what it does. This is the way the cycles run.
Today's video, we're going to be diving into the upcoming pattern, taking a look at obviously colder times ahead, as we've already been dealing with, as we're in a basically Arctic blast pattern, where constant Arctic blasts from northern Canada are just blasting down into the eastern and central United States. Unfortunately, some recent trends, we've obviously been talking about the 4th, 5th for the warm-up. That might be a little bit more brief than we originally anticipated, as models are now kind of starting to trend towards cold coming back after that, which is just so aggravating. We're going to have to take a look at that on today's model run, so I can kind of fill you guys in on that. More severe weather, especially for the deeper south locations, but things are going to get a lot more widespread for the more middle and northern areas as we reach towards next week with another storm system moving through. So let's go ahead and dive into all of this. Today on the temperatures, we have changed something up a little bit. Instead of just using the European model, we're using the European ensemble model. Obviously, things are getting a little bit confusing average of what all of them are showing here. So we're kind of getting a more group consensus of what's going to be occurring as opposed to one singular model, which is going to be good in this type of circumstance. So that's why I decided to make that switch. Oftentimes with these, again, confusing pattern flips, the ensemble models are king. We are already in a Arctic blast. It's not even a debate. We already are in one.
So this Arctic blast, as you see on the West Coast, warm temperature basically goes up and pushes the Arctic cold down. So you're going to see that pattern continue through into June, into the middle of June.
More on the way. This is by the reaching Friday. We see another pocket of, again, another Arctic blast that's gone ahead and moved in. We see this one kind of moving in as well, south of the Hudson Bay. And meanwhile, the whole time, we just see these consistently warm temperatures hanging out over western United States, western Canada, western North America as a whole. This is what we call a positive P&A pattern, and this forces the cold air down into the eastern states, as you can see here. So this pushes northward. It causes an imbalance, and all of that cold air that would be over western Canada spills over into these eastern areas, and we are seeing that take place here. As we keep going, this is by this upcoming weekend. This is Sunday the 1st. The eastern seaboard is not going to be the best. Monday the 2nd, this is when we're seeing our warm-up start up. Might be brief now, like I mentioned, but it's still a warm-up nevertheless. We see the cold temperatures actually hugging that west coast. We call this a negative P&A. And we can see that what was the positive P&A, these warmer conditions, are actually on the move eastward into this eastern area. And we see this transition typically happen as positive P&A patterns break up, as we're seeing here. It's in the long range.
So see all the way into June 11th.
This could change up a little bit.
Going all the way into June 11th. I think, June 11th is where he's showing it right now. So will they go further? June 11th, that's only 10 days away from summer starting. So like I said, we'll see in some areas there's going to be no spring, right? And you'll start to get spring and summer, right? For you guys that live in some of those places, you're like, I'm okay with wearing a sweater. I am too. It's like, no big deal. So, but for some people, it's been really cold. Now, we have been seeing snow continue. And we'll see snow continue in some areas even into the middle of June. As you see here with the tropical tidbits forecast, if we just like crawl this over, you see Colorado starting to get snow tonight and tomorrow morning. Just a little pocket there in the mountains, but then it'll start to build up a little bit as we go into next week, June 3rd. June 4th, we see it in more states, going higher up into, North Dakota, Montana, and then creeping down into Washington State, even all the way down into a little piece of New Mexico down in here. So that's June 14th. So still getting snow almost into summertime frame. So in some areas. But as you saw from that other model, we're going to see cold temperatures for a good chunk of the United States. Now, here is the tropical update for tropical storms and hurricanes. Or watch a little tad bit of this.
And 2025, to be frank, is a pretty weird and sobering time to be a meteorologist, but Mother Nature does not stop and the show must go on. So we're going to talk about what we're going into here at the beginning of the hurricane season. Sometimes it starts quickly in the Atlantic, sometimes it starts real slow. Right now, not seeing a lot out here.
So I don't think it's going to start. It's going to hit off quick. I think it's going to come later in the tropical cyclone season. Probably in maybe mid-June is when we'll start to see some tropical storms. Maybe a little earlier, but they're not going to be hurricanes yet. I think as we end June, we'll maybe see a hurricane, but not a big one. July, we'll start to see, I think in the early part of July, we'll see maybe a 2 or 3. But then when we get into the end of July, that's when it's really going to kick. In August, when we have the warmest month, we'll see probably some really good ones. And then it'll kind of settle down a little bit. We might get another good one. But as you see here, these are the temperatures right here. Temperatures are, kind of warm, and then you have a cooler temperature over here in the Pacific. So the Atlantic is somewhat warm. Last year it was a lot warmer, but the warm temperatures can change very quickly. If I right here in the Gulf, I mean, it's almost like bathwater already. I remember getting in my pool like just a couple of weeks ago, and it was pretty chilly, but it's changed very quickly. The pool is like nice and warm now. You can get in it really quick. It's not a problem. And walking on the beach the other day, the water felt like bathwater, almost like bathwater already. not really cool to the like just a couple of weeks it was. So now we're going to see this temperature probably progress very quickly, I believe, and then you're going to see when the hurricanes do start to come, they're going to gain intensity very quickly. Of course, they're going to get help, I believe, and that's just the way. We're still in that zone. So you see here where it's showing the July, August, September timeframe. It'll could possibly start to get very warm. So that's the model forecast. We'll probably going to see it. Probably going to see it get really warm. Not as big as last year, but I think we're going to get some pretty significant ones. So you guys have been asking for that. That's my predictions for that. And let's move on to the California earthquakes. So with the sun activity, it also increases storm activity. So storm activity, like we've been seeing, I think has been also from, because we've been having some really significant tornadoes, and we're starting to have like these glaciers are collapsing on Swiss little towns in the mountains. There's 2 more. It looks like they're being evacuated. So that's going to continue. And I think that super volcano has a very, very good chance of going off in Naples. I always felt that for a long time that it was going to go off there, and it looks like it's gonna happen, but maybe not. Who knows? It could stop. Maybe those 6 million people, maybe those 6 million Italians that live around there that could get wiped out will be like, no, I don't want to experience that. We'll see. We'll see if they're effective. All right. So very, very significant earthquake activity in the Cascadia range, like I've been talking about. So that has a very great potential of bringing us some significant earthquake activity and potentially tsunamis.
Month view, that's well over 11,000 tremors there, a lot in Northern California as well. Now, this is not surface events, but slow slip events called tremor that's recorded pretty much on any subduction zone there around the planet. And it's a sign here that 2 plates, the subducting plate and the overlaying plate there are, slipping past each other slowly, but also at the same time, that's building the strain in the locked area. That's how you get the strain up there. And all the tremor activity resulting in quite a bit of earthquake activity here in Northern California as well, right around the southern end here of the Cascadia mega thrust area. A lot there on the triple point boundary as well. A couple smaller surface fractures up here across the Cascadia folded thrust belt as well. So just watching that closely. Let's see here. Bay Area, pretty quiet. I mean, I seem to say that every day, right? I think we had one day here a couple days ago where it started to kick up and then it just gone absolutely quiet again. Looks like a little 1.8 down here way south in the interchange here between the Calaveras Fault, the Hayward Fault, a couple other different fault systems here that branch off the San Andreas Fault and plate boundary.
All right, so when you get further down into the California, not much activity. It's all up on that Cascadia. So it's the reason why you want to see if it's moving down is because that means it's flowing. If it's stopping in that Cascadia area, that means it's building up, like you're seeing. It's got all those tremors. Tremors are good because they're releasing energy, slow slip. If it gets stuck, which it seems like it is starting to do, the energy is not flowing down that fault line. It's not spreading out. So with it sticking there, getting sticky, and you get the slow slip, at some point that could stop, and then it builds pressure, and it can happen very quickly, and then that's where you get that big one, right? And you could get the big one if there's a big one that happens around somewhere like in, I don't know, New Zealand, and it travels around the Ring of Fire, goes up around Alaska, doesn't stop, keeps coming, and then it hits that one area where it's starting to get sticky, and it sends it a lot of energy, and then bam. All right, so that's what we're potentially looking at. That's a layman's term. That's a layman. I'm just I haven't gone to school on this. I just observe. Right? I observe the experts, and I see and I share their information. But I have these intuitions that these things should be watched and should be attention should be given them, like this. Okay, so there was 200 homes that were wiped out. Now, I said I thought that it was going to happen. There were some people predicting maybe not, and I was like, I think maybe yeah. So it did happen, and I said it was probably going to block this. It's going to be enough to block the river that runs through there. As you can see, it is blocking it. So those homes you're seeing right there, like the last few homes, I guess over 200 were hammered, and there was like maybe 50 to 100 homes left, or I don't know how many. They got covered with water. So that stream you see, or the river that runs right there with a bridge going over it, this formed a dam. And now that dam, the water is backing up. So at some point that water could burst through or over. It's going to come over this dam somehow at some point. And then as it comes over, it could erode that dam very quickly, and then you get a rush of water downstream. People could be affected massively, so they're evacuating some towns downstream.
Absolute nightmare in Switzerland for the village of Lacken. It has been overrun by rockfall / glacier. It all came down at once and has buried the village underneath, has then blocked the river. A large lake has formed, and now the last homes that were still visible in the videos that we received this morning are now also gone. They're flooded. It's devastating for the people. Some of the people that were evacuated, I mean, they have been, thankfully, the officials did an absolute fantastic job. They have seen the danger and they have evacuated in time, days before the disaster now happened. Come down. And then we see Vila. There's only the left side of the river in that map that seems to be at risk, not the other side. In this valley, in Valais, the people are used to crisis, but they're saying not to such big ones. A member of the Council of State, and by the way, they all came down. They all came down to support the people of Platten. So that was really beautiful to see. So Beat Rieder, he told the press, he said, it's an event like no other. He said, I was just on the...
Okay, it's an event like no other. So I just want you guys to be aware that I'm seeing this stuff is going to be happening all over the world. And that's why I'm focusing on it. So I want you guys to be aware that this catastrophic type stuff is going to start to build in intensity. That's what I'm getting. All right. When I do my remote viewing, like somebody said, Mike, your superpowers in the chat, saying to like pay attention to this. Yes, that's why I'm bringing it up. Otherwise, I wouldn't be talking about it. It wouldn't matter. All right. So now, of course, coming back to home, we have some serious problems. Now, a lot of you know that with changes, whether they be massive changes in consciousness and which we're going to experience, massive changes in the environment, they usually work hand in hand, yes. You're going to see some craziness be exposed, right? So we're seeing that, and there are evil types that have tried to keep this information about these earth changes that are beginning to happen from us, and they're also been doing some very, very evil things for quite some time. So a lot of this stuff is getting exposed. Of course, they're going to push back. The Democrat Party does not like for their control to be taken away from them, obviously. So they're going to push back on every single form, guys.
As the president of Judicial Watch, can you comment on reports of records that you have received from the Obama administration FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, of communications and contracts with a human fetal tissue provider that seems to show the FDA was buying, quote, intact Calvarium baby skulls, 18 to 24 weeks, for $515 per skull.
So I want you guys to just really be with that for a second. All right. The FDA, Food and Drug Administration, was buying baby skulls from aborted fetuses.
Think of this apparent sale of fetal body parts to the FDA.
Well, it ought to cause both moral and legal outrage on the part of United States citizens and taxpayers, that their tax dollars are being used to purchase basically the dead bodies of unborn human beings. They divvy up their bodies, they sell their heads, they sell their livers, they sell other aspects of their body, and you see the price list.
Another interesting bit of information.
Yeah, I would say that, anyone going in to get an abortion, they should do like that scan that they just showed. I remember seeing my son and my daughter when they're in the womb, and it was a precious moment. And I know that there have been some places that before women abort, they do see the scan, and they're like, no, because you see that's a living being you're about ready to kill. It's pretty crazy. But there's a lot of people don't care. It's sad, but they don't care. Some people make money off this. They do it for money. They, carry a child to a certain term, and then they abort it and make money off that. And of course, these abortion clinics are making money off of it, whether American taxpayers pay for it, which we're going to talk about in a second, or whether they pay for it themselves. They're going to make money. They're going to use those baby body parts, and they're going to sell them.
Also stating here, documents previously uncovered in this lawsuit, according to your press release, that the federal government demanded the purchased fetal organs be, quote, fresh, never frozen. What do you make of that?
Well, if you want to, I don't know how any normal person could read that and not be horrified. They wanted the organs shipped on dry ice. This is awful stuff, and it highlights the humanity.
That's actually.
Yeah, and it highlights these are organs. This isn't, a clump of cells. These are organs. These are baby skulls up to 24 weeks gestation. So there's no doubt that any normal person would call these a human being. And indeed, their organs are being sold, chopped up and sold. And, we have.
All right. So we know this happens. It's been going on obviously for a long time. There's not been a lot of outrage about it. Some states don't allow it. Some states will pay for it. The federal government used to pay for it. As you guys can see, the FDA will pay for body parts. So someone's making a profit off that, obviously. So we just had one big step closer. House passes bill stopping forced taxpayer funding of abortion industry. So I don't believe that taxpayers should pay for it unless there are caveats. And within these caveats, it talks about Medicaid being used to women that have been, raped or incest, or they have there's a health issue. If they carry the baby to term, they'll die. So obviously, I think that there should be some kind of services for people they're in that situation if they can't afford it themselves, right? Or if their insurance doesn't cover it, whatever. So there are definitely more than 400,000 babies a year. Their mothers and countless American taxpayers are depending on us to basically, not pay for this, right? So there's a lot of Planned Parenthood facilities. They outnumber the abortion clinics by 15 to 1 nationwide. 15 to 1. So it's crazy. So funding of the big abortion industry, Congress took a big step in stopping that. This crucial win in the fight against America's number one cause of death, abortion, right? Again, and against waste and corruption. So I know a lot of people are, have their own opinions about that, but I really don't think we should be paying for it. Like I said, unless there is a life or death situation or rape or incest and so forth. So otherwise, it should be up to the person after they've seen the scan of their baby before they abort it, right? And if they still want to abort, that's up to them. So 19 states and DC where abortion is not banned, the Hyde Amendment blocks abortion coverage. So there are states, like you see all these blue states, of course, and I was surprised, Montana too, that basically, and Alaska, which is another red state, Hawaii, blue state, they all will pay for abortion. And that's up to those states. So if you live in those states and that's what you like that's why you live in that state, I guess. And if you don't like that, then you can move to another state, or you can be part of maybe a group that protests that, whatever. But as you see, there's only, how many states are there? There's 14 states where abortion is banned. So if you don't believe in abortion, then you live in one of those states, I guess. And if you do believe in abortion, you go to another state that does allow it. So it's up to you. That's the beauty of 50 states. You can choose. If you choose to, like in California, support all the craziness that goes on in California, that's why you live there, I guess. And if you don't support it and you protest it, but it still continues, I don't know why you stay there, but that's up to you. So let's look at let's go in another direction. Florida to recognize gold and silver as legal tender and bid to counter declining dollar. So the dollar took a hit today, went down a little bit. It was actually going up, and then it dropped back down. Says for the first time since 1971, gold and silver coins will be recognized as currency. Governor Ron DeSantis signed House Bill 999. Right? That outlines his plan, 666 reversed. That outlines his plan for the state. Although 666 is actually a good thing, it's it's been compromised, I think, because everything is good, really, in the eyes of God. It's just your choice of how you look at it, I guess. The legislation is going to allow Florida to recognize gold and silver as legal tender in our state, said DeSantis. Florida's new law will allow financial businesses like check, cashiers, or PayPal to recognize gold and silver coins as legal tender. That means these precious metals can start to function like real currency again, not just investment vehicles for the wealthy, said DeSantis. It enables gold and silver as a standard weight of purity to be assessed by an electronic transaction or a debit card that's based on gold or silver within the banking system. So I guess this is something that's coming. That sounds very, very good. So they brought up a point. It says, if you bought a home in 1979, the average cost was $75,000. I remember those days. Those were the days. And that's what they say, Benson said. I remember those days. They were the days. So I remember I bought my condo for like $110,000 just off a very beautiful beach in Virginia. And it was $110,000. I got it on a discount because there was 1986 time frame where there was a collapse in the economy a little bit, and I got a good deal. So, and I made some good money off that when I sold it. When it was sold, I should put it like that. If you bought that same house, that same product now, it would be $531,000. However, if you had bought that in gold in 1979, it would have been 268 ounces. Today, if you bought that home, it would be 268 ounces. So if you had the home and you sold the home, I guess you'd make a lot of money. If you had your gold and you use your gold to buy that home again, it would still be the same. if you had, it usually takes like an ounce of gold to buy a good suit back in 1979. It still takes an ounce of gold to buy a nice suit today. So it holds its value. But if you had a dollar bill from 1979, it would be almost useless from the same time frame. If you had dollar bills and you bought $75,000 worth of a house, if you had those same dollars and you're like, okay, here I am in the future, I'm going to use that same $75,000 to buy a home, you wouldn't even get close to anything like that. So you see the value of silver and gold. We've been talking about this for a long time. Fortunately, and I think in Texas also has it, and Florida now, and I think several other states. There's like 13 different states. We're working on that. I think it's close, if not all of them have it, and I think other states are looking at it. So we're moving back to gold and silver being money again, and that's a good thing. Very helpful. That's why you should have silver. Now, this is the Economic Ninja. This guy has really good insights. Been following him for quite some time. He put some really good stuff. Let's listen to him just for a few seconds.
Since around 2010, and a gold investor, but my silver investment makes up 99% of precious metals investments in my portfolio. Now I physically have to store them because of what I do for a living. I don't have a tree hidden under. I did have some in a tragic boating accident. We still can't find that thing. But anyway, my point being is that I hold physical stored in vaults around the country and pretty soon around the world because.
Now, when I do shows with Dr. Kirk Elliott, we talk about having your silver, because we recommend investing in silver because it's going to move the most and it's getting ready to move the most. And we'll talk about that again. So if you are invested in silver, you own it, you have it in a vault, a depository, you have possession of it if it's in a good, reputable depository. So a lot of people if you don't have it on you, I could not have all the silver that I have on me. It would be impossible. And it would be beyond stupid. So you saw how the Economic Ninja was talking about how he had some stored on his boat and he had a boating accident. He lost all the silver, never been able to find it again. If you have a house fire, your silver is going to melt and the fire department's going to pick that up and run off with it. Right? Or it leaks into the ground or leaks into whatever. So, and even in your safe, it'll melt in your safe, guys, because even inside the safe, sometimes the temperatures rise to a great extent, especially if you're in a directed energy weapon fire. All right. You have a smart meter on your home and they decide to burn your home from the inside out. Then all that heat is generated throughout everything in the house and everything melts. Everything melts. A lot of that stuff even evaporates, as we've been seeing. It's crazy. So definitely something you should consider putting your money into a depository if you're going to invest a fairly good amount. And what's a fairly good amount? 1,000 ounces or more. All right. So, or 500, whatever you feel comfortable with. I can tell you that 500 ounces is like 72 pounds. Right. It's a lot because I've carried it. Right. Every time I move, I've got these boxes of 72 ounce coins, not fun to move that around. And so I imagine having thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of that. No, I'm not going to do that. It's going into a vault where it is, and it's safe there, and it's insured by Lloyd's of London. So, citing financial uncertainty, 12 Democratic, I don't think they're Democrat, I'll just call them Democrat, states sue Trump over international tariffs. 12 Democrat states. What are they? Now, one of these states I was very surprised at, but it's gone. Their governor is, and the state is super corrupt, beyond belief. Money laundering beyond belief by the drug cartel going through Arizona, which is part of that April 23rd suit. Colorado, of course, Connecticut, Delaware, Illinois, Maine, Minnesota, Nevada, which is disappointing. But it is what it is. New Mexico, which is understandable. New Mexico, just like in California is going to raise the tax on like carbon, the carbon tax again. And in New Mexico, where they have the lowest income of all the states, they're going to double the carbon tax. Dumb. Carbon tax? Are you kidding me? There's not global warming. We're in a cooling phase. See how stupid this is? And they're robbing us. Get out of the Democrat states. F those states. I hate them. I hate them. Hate them. So New York, of course, Oregon, of course, and Vermont, of course. California filed a separate lawsuit. They get lots of money, so they'll go big. All right. So they've had effect. They had effect yesterday, last night. And the stock market, of course, obviously is run by the deep state. They love that. When they came in and said, Trump, you can't do tariffs. Trump's tariffs went away last night. Trump's tariffs basically was turned around today, late today. The stock market, when it happened last night, I think it was at 10 o'clock at night, the futures went crazy. They're like, so you're basically taking away the power of our president to bring jobs back to America. The Democrats don't want that. They want America poor, obviously, like New Mexico citizens. All right. They want people living on the streets, like in California. They don't want them to have jobs. We'll just give you some money. Right? We're one of the richest states, and we'll just give you money until there's no more money left. And which is starting to happen. Right? They're getting a deficit, whereas they used to have lots of money. Now they're getting big deficits since Gavin Newsom's been there. They had Tesla there. Tesla, manufacturing plants moved out of there, went to Texas because of all the lockdown bullshit that Newsom pushed. And he and Tesla Motors, I guess, got in a fight. You can say Elon and, Newsom got in a fight. But it was basically Elon, trying to protect his company and his workers so they could work and make money. And California governor was not going to have that. You can't work here. There's a lockdown. It's unsafe. We have a health emergency, and we're going to lock everything down. And of course, we know that was bullshit. And of course, there's another outbreak that they're trying to push. Who knows how far they'll get with that one? But we have a real problem with Democrats in our country, guys. They're trying to stop Trump from making America great again. It's incredible. And it's frustrating as hell. So the trade ruling, a federal appeals court agreed to temporarily preserve many of President Trump's sweeping tariffs on China, Canada, and Mexico, freezing a decision that had sent the administration scrambling to preserve a major weapon in its global trade war to bring jobs back to America, to make America great again. Democrats don't want that. They want to make Trump look bad. Trump bad, right? They've always vilified him. And they just want to destroy America so they can have a communist dictatorship here. So they can be powerful in their seats of power, and everybody else is a slave to them. Just like back in the, slave days of, before 1860, right? In the southern states. So bird flu vaccine, Health and Human Services Department canceled a nearly $600 million contract with Moderna to fund development of bird flu shot for humans. So Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has repeatedly questioned the safety of the mRNA technology and canceled that $600 million. I saw it was like $700 million. So here it's saying $600 million. I don't know. So 100 million here, 100 million there, here 100, there 100, everywhere 100 million. Old McDonald had a farm. So they're just throwing money around, right? Here's 700 million, 600 million, whatever it is. Make a vaccine for the bird flu, which doesn't exist for humans. All right. So it is crazy time, crazy Democrats. Totally disgust me. Right. All right. So Market Watch, we saw the 10-year. So I keep telling you guys, watch the 10-year and watch the dollar. So the dollar spiked today, and then the 10-year bond spiked, and both of them went down, right? So as they were spiking, the Dow and the NASDAQ started to go red, but they got pushed down. Somebody went in and bought it up, right? Probably the Fed bought that debt, and that pushed the stock market back up a little bit. But we'll see. I think it's on borrowed time. I think it was, but maybe it'll go higher. I don't know. But what was resilient and what was very nice was silver market. So the silver market went up nicely today, and so did gold, while everything else was not so much. Like I said, the stock market was down at some point. Now, at the end, it basically went back up. So we're at that inflection point. I want you to look at, this is a chart of silver. So look at it, spread out here. This is over the last year or so. So we're going to go all the way back to 24. So I want you to see this pattern right here. See how it stretches out? Nice to stretch out at the beginning of the year. The low was just under $22. So just under $22. And then the high at the end of the year in October, towards October, it was 35. All right. So we're from 22 to 35. So, about 70%, something like that, 75% up. So silver was doing really good last year. Gold, not as much, but silver was outperforming, blew away the S&P by a large extent, pulled back a little bit into the new year. And as you see, when the stock market crashed just recently, it went down pretty good, more than I believe it should have. And a lot of people said the same thing. Now it's doing that same pattern that we saw back here. All right. And let me make sure you guys can see what I'm seeing. Yep. So you're seeing what I'm seeing. Good. All right. So you see this little ball of kind of sidewaysness, and then it went boop, pulled back a little bit, went boop, sideways, down a little bit, and then up into the year end. Now we're seeing it kind of go sideways and up, and then it had that same little downturn like we saw here. Now this one's even more extreme than this one. And I think that this little sideways move it is going to turn into that, at least here was 50% and over here was 75% move upwards. So that's going to put it at over $50. So we've been talking about how it's going to go to the all-time high, which is $50. I think we're right on the cusp of that. So that sideways movement, if you see silver was up 1.13% today, a little bit more than gold. So gold has been outpacing silver. Now it's time for silver to start to become a rock star that it usually is, and it's going to outpace gold as it has done throughout history. So this could be that point where it takes off. And a lot of people are talking about it. So it goes over, if you see tomorrow, it go over, approach 34 or above $34 and stay above that, we could be off to the races, like I've said. So the next high would be 35.50, It would probably puncture that the following week, and then go to like 37, 38, and then keep going and going and going past $50. Right? Maybe it'll hit 50 and get a little settling, and then take off again. So that's potentially what we're seeing with the market for silver. Now let's go over to gold. I know you guys probably think about, well, what about gold? Because gold's been quite sexy lately. So you see gold basically has been going up, up, up. Now you think, it's like, all the way back here in last year, Mike, that's a long way up. It's up like 1,300. So yeah, 35%, and you had silver up the year before, 75%. So are we going to get silver up another 75% this year, which will put it way out there? Yeah, way above, what gold's doing. So that's my thoughts. This is the way it has worked in the past. I like to look at cycles, as you guys know, and I like to see these things work out. They do usually work out, as I've been seeing them, because I've been seeing this thing go to the moon. So we'll see. Economy shrank 0.2% in the first quarter. Updated gross domestic product showed this morning when this got released at 9:30. GDP seen partly rebounding in second quarter. So they think that it's going to rebound. If it does rebound, then we're not in a recession. But if it stays down for the second quarter like it is right now, that's a recession, right? 2 months or 2 quarters straight with GDP below zero, a recession. I think we've been in a recession for a while. I think the numbers are they're kind of like looking at stuff in reverse. Same thing with the unemployment rate. We're looking at things in reverse, as they look from last quarter. So we're seeing last quarter's information right now. And why can't we see it now? Why can't we look at it right now? All right, and maybe even look into the future. The future does not look good. We have home prices collapsing and so forth, just like we did during 2008, 2009, right? So we have the same patterns are coming again. And when you see the same patterns, then it's not so good. So the Obama wing of Democrat Party is losing power and prestige. But some presidents are more normal than others. Normal than others? Yes, because Obama was married to a man, a transgender, actually. So that's not normal. You could slice and dice the categories all you want, but it's hard to put either Barack Obama or Donald Trump into any category. Yes, one is great, and one is a corrupt politician that's treasonous. Right? So it's and probably stole election, right? Just like his little boy Biden, right? His little puppet boy Biden. All right. So RFK Jr. reveals how Big Pharma controls the media. I think that's coming off. I'm here talking about all this stuff, so it looks like it's changing, but we'll see. We'll see going forward. I think it's going to continue. I think it's going to continue to change. We're going to continue to have free speech, and let's listen to RFK.
Mainstream television networks, and some Roger Ailes told me one time that 75% of his advertising revenues on the evening news division were pharmaceutical ads.
I believe that just by observation, just as
I mean, you got brought to you by Pfizer.
If you eliminate big food and pharma from we just say,
all these bankrupt. Yeah. So those companies are doing that partially because the evening news is very attractive to drug companies because young people don't watch news. It's all older people, and those are their customers. They're people who are taking all this whole, arsenal, this battery of drugs, but they also do it to control content.
Yeah.
That's why you see defense contractors advertising on, Good Morning America. Nobody's going to buy a Tomahawk missile on, who's watching Good Morning America. They advertise because they want to control the content. And if you look at, Anderson Cooper.
So, back in the day, because I believe that Google and YouTube and a lot of these social media sites now are desperate to get income, right? When they don't have the big pharma stuff anymore, because I think it's been restricted from them. And at some point, it's going to be completely restricted from them if it hasn't been already. Maybe they see what's coming and they're already adjusting, letting, truthers like me come in and spread truth about big pharma. Or maybe they know they're going to win or something. I don't know. They're like, let them go talk again. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We've already got it wrapped up and they don't know it yet. So, I mean, that could be. I don't think so, but we'll see how that works out in the future. But it seems to me that these guys are like looking after their bottom line in the future, and they're seeing that big pharma is no longer going to control the media and is not controlling the media anymore because people are onto their badness, right? So yeah, I think it's bye-bye, Janet. Great to have Michael back on YouTube. I'll second that. Thank you. And we'll also have bye-bye Big Pharma, Nazi deep state demons. All right. They go bye-bye. Yeah. We like it when they go bye-bye. And it looks like they have. So it's good. We're going to continue to see bye-bye-ness in these different organizations. But they'll still continue to do stupid, especially in a Democrat state like California, right? Where they're trying to control the cattle industry so they can starve us. So this is probably part of their agenda. They have been doing this. They're continuing to do it in California. They haven't been raided, and the people haven't, like, taking, Newsom's going to be there for until January of 27. So that's a long way. January 27. So that's a very long way. Over a year and a half. So he can do a lot of badness, and his corrupt government can do a lot of badness in that time frame, guys. So this should impact you a little bit. Maybe not, Janet, but I know you live in Northern California, and you're working with cattle. So let's see what they say about cattle numbers.
Good evening. An idea to limit the size of New York State dairy farms, drawing criticism tonight from Jefferson County's agricultural coordinator. In fact, Jay Madison believes it could hamper one of Northern New York's most lucrative industries, and he adds they should probably make a trip down to the farm. Here's 7 News Report. Oh,
this is New York, so not California. So anyway, so New York, not California, another blue state, of course. So New York is trying to restrict the dairy cattle. I worked on a dairy cattle farm one time. That's why I love raw milk. I got to have it. I love it so much, and it is a very good thing. Pasteurized milk they did that to kill us, right? It's not good for you.
Channel Charette.
700 cows. That's the cattle threshold farmers can hit before they need to apply for a large-scale concentrated animal feeding operation, or CAFO. A bill introduced by Assemblymember Linda Rosenthal of Manhattan and Senator Jabari Brisport of Brooklyn would bar the state from doling out any more of those permits. In a statement given to 7 News, Assemblymember Rosenthal claims the move would benefit the environment and small businesses. But Jefferson County Agricultural Coordinator Jay Madison strongly disagrees.
They haven't done their research. They've never been on dairy farms. So how dare they try to regulate something they know nothing about?
One of Matt.
They don't need to know anything about it. They know that it will impact communities and lower the quality of milk products, I guess. I don't know. It's the Democrats. They want to destroy America. They want to kill us. They want to vaccinate us. They want to take away our food source. It's incredible. Why? Or do we still have Democrats? I don't understand. And I know my numbers go down when I talk about Democrats because all the places where I have high numbers are in Democrat big cities. So, but I got to let you guys know you're in a Democrat. If you're a Democrat in a big city, or you're in a big city and you know it's a big Democrat city, and you're trying to figure out, how can we overcome these Democrats? Then I guess that's why you listen to me. So it's craziness. It's craziness to me. All right. So 2 months ago, this is from Kevin Kiley in California. Said I wrote Newsom, their continued defiance of federal law in allowing biological males to compete in female athletics. Yesterday, they finally took limited action, creating a separate transgender division, so the girls' division is preserved. Wow. We've been saying this for a long time, so finally happening. This comes as President Trump is about to sign my legislation reversing Newsom's gas car ban. We've also countered Newsom's disasters by making crime illegal again, banning homeless encampments, and ending free Medi-Cal for illegal immigrants. So on girl sports, creating a whole new division with its own trophies rather than simply recognize common sense and biological reality. So, and they're having, I guess, temper tantrums on the gas car ban, lashing out at MAGA Republicans and filing a lawsuit because they got a lot of money. They got a lot of money there in California, and they don't give it to Californians. They give it to illegal aliens, and they use it to fight Trump, who's trying to help California, right? Unbelievable. Ignoring the 36 Democrats who supported my resolution. So I guess there are some Democrats who are seeing the light, but not all. So lots of obstruction, coming from a lot of Democrats, unfortunately. All right, the great betrayal, the battle against making America healthy again. So chemicals, big time. So I guess this is part of the problem too. Still, even though you have Maha and RFK Jr., you still have a lot of the chemical industry in there trying to pay people off and all that stuff. Big ag, big chem, big seed can hurt you, even kill you, and not just get away with it, but profit from it. So just like they made vaccines that these bioweapon companies put out, they are, not being held accountable in the legal system. They've been passing laws against, for that. Now they're trying to do the same thing in big ag, big chem, and big seed on the farms, guys. So Monsanto, now owned by Germany's Bayer, has paid over $10 billion to settle lawsuits linking Roundup glyphosate to non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And Syngenta, a Chinese state-owned company through ChemChina, reached a $187.5 million settlement. So obviously they can afford to pay people off. Massive lawsuits because they made massive amounts of money killing us. And some people complain that or their families complain for their loved ones who are gone or significantly impacted. So now they're just paying them off. So paraquat has been banned in the European Union since 2007, in China for domestic use, and in other countries due to its extreme toxicity. So why is it still being used in America? DuPont, 3M, and Chemours, a DuPont spinoff, because if DuPont spins it off, then you don't recognize, DuPont, they do bad things. But if it's Chemours, maybe people don't recognize it, right? That's the way they work. Have collectively paid billions for contaminating water supplies with PFAS, the so-called forever chemicals, which the European Union is now moving to comprehensively ban. But we're not yet in America because they are paying off these politicians. At the same time, the industrial meat packers, such as Smithfield, owned by China's WH Group, and JBS, a Brazilian conglomerate. So what happened to America, right? We're going to bring it back to America, right? I guess not for the meat packers. Are driving demand for pesticide-intensive feed crops. So, of course, that's going into the meat. These are, Brazilian and Chinese conglomerates. They don't care. They're going to feed it to Americans. And, there are some companies out there. I guess Reynolds is one of them. That stuff we wrap our food in, Reynolds wrap. Reynolds Corporation, I don't know if they still do, but they owned a very significant portion of the crematoriums in America. And do you know what they did with all that stuff that was supposed to be cremated? It didn't always go into the crematorium. Sometimes it went to feed the pigs, all right? And then we ate the pigs. So don't eat the pigs, all right? So, and don't eat McDonald's. They did a study where you could look at all the billions and billions and billions and billions that are sold, hamburgers, that is, supposedly, made with is your key word, with, not completely, but with 100% ground beef, maybe 1%. What is the other stuff? Oh, when you look at some of that stuff on a microscope, oh my God, you won't eat a McDonald's Big Mac again. So something's going in there that's not 100% beef, because there's no way that you would have enough beef if you killed every cow and cattle, all the cattle in America. You still wouldn't have enough beef to steaks and hamburgers that are going into all these fast food restaurants and on and on and on. You just wouldn't have enough. So something's filling it. And I'd like to, we've had a lot of these crematoriums where they go in and they find out that a lot of bodies been dumped in the back, right? So maybe not all of the bodies are dumped in the back. Maybe they go somewhere else. I don't know, guys. Well, I do know, so I'm just putting it out there. Glyphosate, paraquat, banned in over 70 countries, including the European Union. Often used in weed control rotations. Annual U.S. usage over 8 million pounds. And then glyphosate, often used include in soy, corn, cotton, canola, sugar beets, and alfalfa. Annual U.S. usage, where it's banned everywhere else in the world, but still the U.S. is using it, 280 to 290 million pounds. And then those forever chemicals, of course, are banned pretty much everywhere, right? But the U.S. and on and on. All these bad herbicides and chemicals and so forth are used on a massive level here in the United States, guys. And the people that have a lot of this money are piling into Washington, D.C. to buy off all those politicians so they can continue to poison us. So we have a lot of work to do. MAHA is doing the best they can, but there's a big, big conglomerate of people that have billions, hundreds of billions of dollars. They're trying to keep their share of their chemicals in our foods, poisoning us, right? Crazy. Rice and beans. Make sure you grow your own. All right, guys. That's all I got for today. Lots of love, and I will see you guys next time.